This looks like very unfortunate news for fight fans and specifically Alex Pereira, guys. And I know people think I don't like Pereira because I picked Ink against him, but I honestly kind of feel for him here. Like, this looks like a unfortunate situation. Let me tell you guys what I got from this tweet, because a lot of people are trying to read into and trying to figure out what's happening. I'm pretty certain this is what's happening. First of all, I'm going to read the tweet to you guys. This is what Pereira said in the tweet. I always answered UFC's calls, but if they want to play with me, we can do that. I've never spoken poorly of the UFC, but with what I've just heard, I'm disheartened. I've already had thoughts of not fighting anymore, and after what was just relayed to me, this may be the start. Now, this looks like almost a retirement tweet, and like you could definitely see Alex Pereira's upset, and I'm going to defend Pereira today. I'm going to get in, and I'm going to defend my boy Pereira. Like, it feels good to have a video like this where I could just say how I truly feel. Like, listen, man, Alex Pereira, guys, whether you like him or not, no matter what opinion you have on Pereira, you should all know and understand what Alex Pereira has done for the UFC and for us as fans, dude. Like, Pereira's carried the UFC significantly on his back, and right now, it's looking like the UFC isn't going to give him an instant rematch for Ink Alive. And the reason they're not going to give him this instant rematch it has nothing to do with Pereira not wanting to fight. But I do think it has something to do with Alex Pereira wanting more time to prep for Ink Alive, and Ink Alive wants to be more active. So the UFC, instead of trying to wait for Pereira, they want to keep the division moving, which I see both point of views, keep in mind. I don't just say, I'm not like, yes, I'm defending Pereira here, but I don't think, the UFC's wrong necessarily for trying to go to the next guy. But I think it's a little odd because Alex Pereira did save multiple cards. Like, even though like some of the matchups were a little bit one-sided or didn't really make sense, it was Alex Pereira stepping up, And now it's like he's asking the UFC for likely more time to prep for Ink Alive. But Ink Alive's like, I just want to fight. I don't care who. So you can see from Ink Alive's point of view, he's doing the right thing. He wants to stay active. If anyone gets in the comments and like, man, how dare Ink Alive try to stay active? Why can't he just wait till the end of the year when Pereira is ready? Why does he want to fight 3 times a year? Ink Alive has made it obvious that he wants to fight 3 times after, beating Alex Pereira. And that's what he's trying to do. So you can tell he's trying to get a fight for like around August and then maybe squeeze in one at like the end of the year. So you can see why Ink wants to fight multiple times a year and be that kind of fighter. But then for Pereira, it's just unfortunate for him because like I said, someone who saves so much UFC cards, is in the point where he's not going to get this instant rematch. And now the thoughts of retirement is looking a little bit more likely. It looks like Pereira is like starting to be like, okay, listen, I'm 37, damn near 38. I'm not young. Like, if I'm not going to get an instant rematch, and they're going to make Ink Alive fight someone else, then I'm going to have to fight like another contender. Dude, I cleared out this division. What do you want me to do, brother? I'm a real bad man. Like, what else do you want from me? I see from Pereira's point of view, and I don't see the purpose of Pereira fighting if it's not for a title or it's not an instant rematch. Because if Ink's going to go fight, say, I don't know, anyone, Carlos Uberg. Uberg just beat Jan Blachowicz, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the direction the UFC's going. Say that's happening. Then it leaves Alex Pereira in a spot where, say that fight's competitive and Ink Alive's going to take some time off and then Pereira's just going to be sitting out. It's not going to be a good look for Pereira. So the UFC's probably going to try to make him fight a Blachowicz rematch or something else of that sort. And I feel bad for Pereira in that sense. Like I can't come on here and be like, yeah, man, I'm happy, dude. I'm jolly. I don't like the way the UFC is treating Alex Pereira, who's kind of just, been carrying the UFC for a little bit, man. He's been carrying whether you like him or hate him or whatever your opinions on him. I've always liked Pereira. I know it always seemed like I didn't because, like I said, I picked Ink Alive to beat him. Kenny, you can't pick Ink to beat him. You hate him. I never hated Alex. I know people are going to be like, some people might be surprised with this direction of this video. Like, why is Kenny defending Alex? Bro, this is like, I'm just an honest person. I didn't like the fact he was ducking Ink Alive. It won't be Ink, all this shit. He ends up losing. And now it's kind of like everything just kind of falling apart for him. So I do feel for him, dude. Listen, man, Alex Pereira, I actually back him in the sense that if he's not going to get treated with what he thinks he should be treated with, which is probably an instant rematch. I think most people want to see an instant rematch, even though I think, I'll be real, Ink's going to beat him again. Like, it'll be probably worse for Pereira because he might get finished this time around, but I do think you should give Pereira the courtesy and give him the chance to fight, bro. Why not? Who would not want to see Pereira fight, man? Like, he's an entertainer, dude. I have nothing, like, if you don't want to watch an entertainer fight, then you lost your mind. You lost the plot. So I want to see someone like Pereira going there. Maybe this time, I know his performance wasn't that good. Maybe the UFC is a little bit angry at him there too, but it doesn't matter, man. It really doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you should still respect the guy for carrying the company on his back, and you should give him the instant rematch. But like I said, if Ank just wants to stay active, I'm not going to, bash on Ank. Oh, how dare you? But I kind of saw this coming, guys, because I remember so much tweets where Ank Alive would be like, this guy Alex is not ready for a rematch. Looks like he's not ready. He's scared, blah, blah, blah. And, I would see those and I'm like, I don't think Pereira wants a rematch, guys. But I don't think it's that Pereira doesn't want the rematch. I just think he needs more time to prep. Let's be real. He got beat up pretty badly. He got his face bruised up a little bit after the fight. And you could tell he didn't feel himself. Like, I see him going to his village back in Brazil and, like, taking, like, whatever drugs to, like, get his mind right. He's going through a whole episode in his life. And I respect him, and I think he should do it, whatever helps him mentally, because he was not fighting like Pereira in the slightest. I think Ankalaev mentally broke him a little bit. So he's trying to recover, get himself back on his feet. And then the UFC's over here like, yeah, dude, fuck you, dude. By the way, you're not getting the instant rematch. Like, come on, dog. It's kind of a smack in the face, And if this is the end of Alex Pereira, what a horrible way to go out, isn't it? Like, I feel like someone with the kind of career he had, so entertaining, like banger fights, if he's gonna leaving on a loss is not necessarily a bad thing, because like I said, if he rematched Ankalaev, he would have lost again regardless. But leaving on a loss and then leaving on bad terms with the UFC after he did so much for the company, it'll leave a bitter taste in my mouth as well as other Pereira fans' mouth. Even if you don't like Pereira, it's probably going to make you feel a little uncomfortable, because you don't got to like him necessarily to feel like, to not feel bad for him in this situation. Like, how can the UFC do this to the guy? I don't know. I'm not jacking him, and I can't get behind it. I just can't. I don't like what the UFC is doing with Pereira, but I see Ankalaev just wanting to be more active and probably wants to take another fight, because he says he wants to fight 3 times this year. He fought during Ramadan, which is already the hardest time for him to fight in the year, so I know Ank's going to be able to fight any other period of time in the year. Ankalaev didn't take much damage. I don't think Pereira took much damage either. Of course, Pereira had some bruises on his face because he was the only one getting hit in the face. I'm pretty sure Ank just took a little bit leg kicks, iced his leg. He's back to go. He's ready to go. But Pereira has a little bit more soul searching to do, in contrast to Ankalaev, who I feel like won the fight pretty convincingly. He was kind of just chasing down Alex the whole time, so he didn't really take, he doesn't really have a lot to recover from. But yeah, guys, like Alex Pereira at 37, 38. I guess he doesn't have anything else to prove, to be fair. Like, can he get the title back? No. Can he get the title back? No. There's no. I think he's beat the who's. Yeah, sure. He hasn't fought the Ubergs and some of these other up and comers, but he doesn't need to. And I think he beats most of them anyways. It's just that he's in the point of his career where, like, if you aren't being treated well from the company that you've been carrying, I wouldn't mind him walking away. But what's weird about this, in this tweet, he also says, like, he's already been thinking about not fighting anymore. So that shows me that after the Ankalaev fight, chat, he wasn't sure of even fighting, which I don't blame him, because he looked kind of shit. Like, he just didn't look that good. So the fact that he's kind of saying the things along the lines of, like, he was already thinking of not fighting, this lets me know that after the Ankalaev fight, he might not already mentally be there, which just proves the point further that, like, maybe he didn't want the rematch. Because the tweets that Ank was saying, like, literally like weeks after the fight, saying he looks like Pereira doesn't want it. Maybe Pereira was talking to UFC like, listen, I don't know how I feel. I'm going to take some time off, and I'll get back to you guys. And maybe the UFC was impatient. They're like, dude, listen. You had a great career. You don't have to come back to us. UFC is brutal, man. It's a company first. One thing I've noticed about when these champions start to lose is that the UFC has to move on to the next guy. I feel as if Hunter and Dana, they're realizing that Pereira had his time. He had his era, and it's time for the next guy. It's kind of looking like that, man. It's kind of looking like, okay, we kind of understand that the way he lost, he kind of looked like he wasn't there. He just maybe doesn't have it anymore. And then, it just, on the mental side for a fighter, it's got to be like a hell so, because you're so used to saving the cards, and then the company kind of just turns on you. But that's the brutal element of the sport, chat. You just never know. You're never safe in a position, bro. I've seen it happen with Izzy. I've seen it happen with Usman. Volk, it happened with, but he came back, because he's goated like that. But most fighters in the UFC, chat, they have that period of time where they're invincible. They're on top of the world. And then when shit goes left, people turn their back on you. Even, why I feel bad for Poatan even more? His fans are so fake and not real anymore. They're all disappeared. Like, it's like they're not real. It's like I feel like they were all Israel Adesanya haters. I was telling you guys this. I think they're all Izzy haters. They were happy that he beat Izzy, and then they just grabbed the coattails. Even when he first came to UFC, yeah, he knocked out Izzy 9 years ago. I hope this guy becomes champion. That's kind of what the whole narrative was. It was never really like, oh yeah, man, Alex Pereira, I love him so much. I've been watching him since Glory. You know, people try to act like, yeah, man, I've been seeing him since Glory. You haven't seen him since nothing, brother. Be quiet, bro. You're not low. You know, and then after he loses, I'm like, there's fans disappeared. I see him getting roasted a lot more. No one's defending him. I'm like, damn, dude, like this fake fan base. How can the most cringe, absurd, annoying fan base be the fakest? I mean, I guess that makes sense because most of them are casuals, but it shows how fickle some UFC, you know, fan bases are. And they act like they're the shit, you know, but they're fickle. You know, I'll give Charles Oliveira credit. He was one of those people like people would glaze, and even when he lost, people would still glaze. To this day, people still glaze, and I think it's rightfully so. But Pereira's fan base, like Brazilian fans usually go hard for their fighters, but Pereira's, man, once he lost, man, dale, brother, deuces. They ran away. They weren't jacking it. Like, they just didn't care anymore, you know? So now it has someone like me who people think is an Alex hater who's not an Alex hater. I just like Izzy and I like Alex. You know, they're going to see someone like me defending him. They're probably going, what the hell? Is Kenny the only real? I might be the only real Alex fan. I'm gonna say I might be the only real Alex fan because everyone else, dude, is just fucking thinking everything's roses and bubbles, and then he loses, and then I'm done with him, man, like a new toy, brother. The whole time, you know, I never hated this guy. You know, I actually feel for him here. You know, and it looks like from his perspective, he thinks the UFC's turning their back on him. You know, but from a logical perspective, it kind of just seems as if Alex Pereira, you know, I think the UFC sees him as his time's up and they're kind of on to the next guy. And if he does need this time mentally that he probably told the UFC he needed, the UFC just not getting behind that because they understand it's a company and the company has to move on. You know, I'm sure like some people are going to talk about this and stand up for Alex a little bit more like I'm doing because I just don't think it's a good look for the UFC that, you know, they're kind of moving on quickly and not giving Alex Pereira the desired time he needs. But like I said, at the end of the day, bro, Alex can't really dictate what he wants to do because he's not champion. He can't be like, oh, let me take some time off. If he was champion, say he won the Ankalaev fight, then wanted to take some time off, he could do that because you have the belt. You know, if you want to fight Ankalaev later in the year or at the end of the year, you could do that. You don't have the belt, so you don't really have that mouth you could be using as much to where like, oh, I need some time. Let me fight Ankalaev like late in the year. When Ankalaev, if he's a champion, he wants to go early. That's the champion's privilege. You know, if you wanted that Pereira, next time don't lose. You know, brother, this is my opinion. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's just, I had to make a video on it because I do think it's an unfortunate situation for Pereira. And if this is the end of Pereira, I just think it's a horrible way to end off his career, isn't it? I can't get behind that way if his career ends like this. I just can't. I wouldn't like it. You know, I want to see him in there one more time. Even if I don't think he's going to beat Ankalaev, but, you know, this tells me whatever his next fight is probably his last, if he has a next fight. I'm assuming the UFC might see this and feel bad for him and try to, you know, negotiate something with him. But I'll say this. If his next fight is Alex, if Alex's next fight is Ank, it'll probably be his last fight because he'll lose. And he's already told people that he's thinking of retiring. And then if he loses the same guy who made him want to retire, he's probably going to retire again. And if it's anything else the UFC tries to give him, I think he's going to retire via just nothing. Unless it's like a big name and the UFC gives him a big check for it. Or the UFC tries to help him get to heavyweight and try to give him a title shot there. That'd be cool too. But this guy I don't think Alex even wants to go to heavyweight after feeling the power of like a quick-handed light heavyweight fighter like Ankalaev. He wouldn't want to go up and fight a quick-handed heavyweight fighter like Aspinall. But listen, man, I feel for Alex, dude. I do. And I feel as if the UFC is doing him wrong. But also from a business standpoint, they're doing the right thing. It's just mixed opinions about this. I actually want to see what other people think. I do feel for my boy Alex. And listen, bro, I hope he comes to some kind of, I hope he figures out the situation, brother. Because there's no bueno, no dale, and I can't get behind this. But let me know what you guys think down below. That's it for me, and God bless. 2, 3.